Jehovih said, "Let a sign be given to the inhabitants of the earth, so that they may comprehend Danha, a time of great light, in the firmament of heaven. For even as I bequeathed or assigned to the earth a time for creating the living, and a time for angels to come and partake of the first fruits of mortality and immortality, so shall man, at certain times and seasons, receive testimony from my hosts in heaven." And Jehovih caused the earth, and the family of the sun to travel in an orbit, the circuit of which requires of them 4,700,000 years. And he placed in the line of the orbit, at distances of 3,000 years, Etherian lights, at which places, as the earth passes through, angels from the second heaven come into its corporeal presence. As ambassadors they come, in companies of hundreds, thousands, and tens of thousands, and these are called the Etherian hosts of the Most High. They come not as single individuals, nor do they come for a single individual mortal. And Jehovih gave this sign to man on earth, which is to say, in the beginning of the light of Danha, the spirits of the newly dead shall have power to take upon themselves the semblance, or appearance, of corporeal bodies, and appear and talk face to face with mortals. Every 3,000 years Jehovih gave this sign on earth, a movement of great spiritualism, so that those who learned the powers and capacities of such familiar spirits could bear testimony regarding the origin of man on earth. Jehovih said, "And when it shall come to pass in any of the times of Danha that these signs manifest, man shall know that the hosts of the Most High come soon after. Let him who will become wise enumerate or gather data on the great lights of my serpent, the spiral planets of the solar system, for in such times I set aside things that are old, and establish my chosen anew. In the time of the earth, when man was brought forth from mortal to immortal life, the earth passed beyond Semu, the age of creating animal life. The angels of heaven remained with corporeal man, but not in the semblance of mortals, but as spirits, and by virtue of their presence, strove to make man wise and upright before Jehovih. Upon the earth the number of such angels was millions. To these angels Jehovih spoke, "Behold the work you have taken in hand. It was commanded to you all, to partake of all the fruits of the earth, except of the fruit of the tree of life, which is of the knowledge of the earth and heaven, lest you lose your inheritance in Etheria. Behold, you now have sons and daughters on the earth. By your love to them, you have become bound spirits of the lower heaven. Until you redeem them in wisdom and power even to the 6th generation, you shall not rise again and inherit my emancipated heavens. To which end, or purpose, you shall be co-workers with one another in system and order. In my name you shall become an organic body and known as the heaven of the earth, or lower heaven, which shall travel with the earth. And I will allot to you a chief, who is wise and experienced in founding heavenly kingdoms, and he shall appoint from among you, officers, messengers, ushers, which are guardian angels over mortals, asafs, which are guardian angels over the spirits of the newly dead, and esenors, which are heavenly singers and musicians, and you shall be numbered, which is to say classified, and apportioned to your labor and places, like in my other lower heavens on other worlds. He who is chief shall be called God of this heaven and the earth, which are now bestowed, or given, to his making, in the way he sees fit. And God shall have a council and throne within his heavenly city, and the place shall be called Horde, because it is the first kingdom of God in this firmament. And God shall rule on his throne, for it is his, and his council shall rule with him. In my name, they shall have dominion over angels and mortals belonging to the earth. And God shall appoint chiefs under him who shall go down and dwell on the earth with mortals, and the labor of these chiefs shall be with mortals for their resurrection. And these chiefs shall be called lords, for they are gods of land, which is the lowest rank of my commissioned gods. And God and his lords shall have dominion from 200 years to 1,000 or more years, but never more than 3,000 years. According to the regions of Dan, light, into which I bring the earth, so shall the terms be for the office of my gods and my lords. And God and his lords shall raise up officers to be their successors. These officers shall be appointed and crowned in my name by God and his lords. At the termination of the dominion of my God and his lords, they shall in these, my bound heavens, gather together all those angels who have been prepared in wisdom and strength for resurrection to my Etherian kingdoms. And these angels shall be called brides and bridegrooms to Jehovih, for they are mine and in my service. And in the time of Dan I will send down ships from Etheria to God, his lords and the brides and bridegrooms, by my Etherian gods and goddesses. These ships shall descend to these heavens to receive God, his lords and the brides and bridegrooms, and carry them up to the exalted regions I have prepared for them. All those who ascend shall be called a harvest to me, through my God and lords. And the time of my harvest shall be according to each Dan, which is 200 years, 400 years, 600 years, and 500 years. And these shall be called my lesser cycles, because they are the times of the tables of prophecy which I give to my servants. But at no other times, nor in any other way, shall my harvests ascend to my emancipated worlds in Etheria. For each and every Dan I have created 7 Dans, and to each Dan given 6 generations of mortals. The angels understood the commandments of Jehovih according to their knowledge in the Etherian heavens, being heirs of other planets, and having died in infancy, and having matured in the spirit worlds. But they did not understand the Creator regarding the practice of the lower heavenly kingdoms. And for that reason their knowledge was incomplete. Jehovih said, I do not condemn you, because you have become joint procreators with the Aswins. For you have done 2 services to me, which are first to teach yourselves corporeal things, so that you can understand and sympathize with corporeans, and second, you have caused the earth to become peopled with those who are capable of immortality. Observe now what shall happen on the earth. Those who are of your flesh and kin who cohabit together shall rise in wisdom and virtue. But those who cohabit with the Aswins will bring forth errors in the descending grade of life. The first shall bring forth errors to everlasting life, but the second shall bring forth errors that shall go out in darkness, which is ceasing to exist. In the dominion of which matters your God and lords will instruct you, so that you may, by inspiration and otherwise, learn to control the behavior of mortals to everlasting life. And so that these labors are not too severe upon you, I created the Dans and Danhas in the firmament, at which times you can be relieved from the watch by other angels from other worlds coming to exchange with you. This also I put upon you, that to rule over mortals to virtue, by your own wills governing them in all things, is contrary to my commandments. For what honor has any man, if made to do a thing? But you shall give my light to mortals, leaving them to choose. It is better for them to suffer some than to grow up in ignorance of the stings of disobedience. Know that I make this willing service on your part, because you have bound your affections on the earth, to your own kin, you willingly become guardian angels over mortals. Yet I did not make a separate law for you. As it is with you, so shall it be with the spirits of these mortals. When they are born into the spirit world, they will also desire to become guardian angels over their mortal kin. But these spirits, never having known my higher heavens, will be unsuitable for the office of ushers. They would only be the blind leading the blind. To prevent which, God and the Lord shall provide these spirits in the first resurrection with places to dwell in, and with occupations and opportunities for education. For I do not desire them to remain bound to the earth, but to rise up and inherit my Etherian kingdoms. And in this also you shall be discreet in governing them, giving them the light of my heavens with some liberty to choose, and to perfect themselves. Otherwise they would only be slaves in heaven, according to their weakness or strength, so shall you provide for these new spirits entering my world. Therefore those of you who are appointed by my God and my lords as guardians over mortals shall be called ushers, and you shall report to your respective lords, according to the section of the earth where you may be. And ushers shall have many watches, work shifts. And those of you who are appointed to receive the spirits of the dead into heaven shall be called ushers, and you shall report to your respective lords and their kingdoms. And the ushers shall make a record of every mortal as to the grade of his wisdom and good works. And when a mortal dies, and his spirit is delivered to the ushers, the record shall be delivered with him, and the ushers receiving shall deliver this spirit, along with the record, into that place in these heavens, which is adapted to his grade, where he shall be put to work into school, according to the place of the resurrections which I created. As you shall thus become organic in heaven, with rulers, teachers and physicians, and with capitals, cities and provinces, and with hospitals, nurseries, schools and factories, so shall you also ultimately inspire man on the earth to the same things. And mortals who are raised up to dominion over mortals shall be called kings and emperors. As my gods and my lords are called my sons, so shall kings and emperors be called sons of God. Through him they shall be raised up to their places, and given dominion for my glory.